The night he almost disappeared, no one noticed. Not his neighbors, not his teachers, not even the people who walked past him every single day. A boy can fade like that, quietly, without a sound. His name was Ethan. And if you had seen him back then, you probably wouldn't remember him either. He wasn't the loud kid, not the smartest, not the strongest. Just there, wearing the same worn-out hoodie every day, sleeves stretched, color faded into something that didn't even have a name anymore. His shoes had stories in them, holes that let the cold in, souls that whispered against the pavement like they were tired too. Ethan lived in a one-room apartment above a closed-down grocery store, the kind of place where the lights flickered like they were thinking about giving up. His mother worked nights, cleaning offices that would never know her name. And Ethan, he learned early how to be invisible. At school, he sat in the back corner, not because he wanted to, but because no one ever saved him a seat anywhere else. Teachers forgot to call on him, classmates forgot he existed, and when they didn't forget, they laughed. "Why even try?" someone once whispered behind him. That sentence stuck to him like a shadow that followed him home. Why even try? It echoed when he opened his old textbooks. It echoed when he stared at the cracked ceiling above his bed. It echoed the night everything almost ended. That night, the rain was loud. Not gentle, not calming, relentless. It hit the windows like it was trying to break in. Ethan sat on the floor, back against the wall, holding a report card that felt heavier than it should. Failed subjects. Again. He stared at the red marks like they were screaming something he couldn't escape. For a moment, he believed them. Maybe he was just nothing. Maybe the world had already decided his story, and this was it. A quiet, forgettable ending. He closed his eyes, and for the first time, he didn't imagine a bitter future. He imagined nothing, just silence, just disappearing. But then, a sound broke through the storm, a soft, uneven cough. Ethan turned his head. His mother was standing in the doorway, exhausted, soaked from the rain, shoulders heavy from a life that never gave her a break. She didn't say anything at first. She just looked at him. Not through him, at him, like he mattered, like he wasn't invisible. She walked closer, slowly, like every step took effort. And then she sat beside him on the floor. No lectures, no disappointment, just silence. And then she reached into her bag, pulled out a small, crumpled sandwich, probably her dinner. She handed it to him. "I thought you might be hungry." That was it. No speech, no big moment, just that. But something inside Ethan shifted. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet crack in the wall he had built around himself. Because for the first time in a long time, someone chose him. Not because he was good enough, not because he had proven anything, but simply because he was her son. And somehow, that was enough. That night, Ethan didn't magically become confident. He didn't wake up the next morning as a different person. But something small had changed. And sometimes, small is where everything begins. The next day, he raised his hand in class, just once. His voice shook. His answer wasn't perfect. Some kids laughed, but he didn't lower his hand right away. That was new. Days passed, then weeks. He started staying after school, not because he had to, but because he didn't want to go back to feeling like nothing. He borrowed old books from the library, watched free videos on a cracked phone screen late at night. He didn't have a mentor. He didn't have resources. He had questions and a stubborn refusal to stay invisible. There were days he slipped back, days the voice returned. Why even try? But now there was another voice too, quieter but stronger, because someone believes you should. Time moved, not fast, not easy, but forward. Ethan failed again and again, but something strange started happening. He stopped seeing failure as proof he was nothing and started seeing it as unfinished work. That shift, it changed everything. Years later, the boy no one noticed walked onto a stage filled with light. Not borrowed light, not reflected, his. The room was silent, not because they didn't care, but because now they were listening. Ethan stood there, same eyes, same quiet presence, but different. Not louder, not flashy, just certain. He spoke about struggle, about being invisible, about the nights he almost gave up and the small moment that pulled him back. Not a miracle, not luck, just a sandwich in the rain and someone who refused to let him disappear. The audience leaned in because his story didn't feel like a fantasy. It felt real, messy, unfinished, possible. After the speech, people lined up, not to meet a celebrity, but to thank him, because somehow his story felt like theirs too. And in that moment, the boy who was once forgotten became someone others would never forget. Not because he was perfect, not because he never struggled again, but because he kept going when stopping would have been easier. Because he chose to exist loudly enough for his own life to hear him. And maybe that's what destiny really looks like. Not a straight path, not a grand design waiting for the chosen ones, but a quiet decision repeated daily to not disappear, to not give up, to keep showing up, even when no one is watching. Because one day they will. And more importantly, you will. So if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever sat in the back of the room thinking your story doesn't matter, it does. Not later, not when you're ready, now. Because the world doesn't need another perfect story. It needs real ones, stories like yours. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there is waiting for your voice, the same way Ethan needed his mother's quiet belief in him that night. So don't disappear. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. And if this story found you at the right moment, stay a little longer. There are more stories like this waiting for you. Just don't forget to come back.